you.
So fun. Brianna, thanks for the update.
We're live. Thank you. Look at you people go. People are already making comments.
Today on Locked On
Stuff
Rockies, a
happening.
late
Whatnot.
rally, a pulse from the Colorado
Let's do
Rockies
this.
falls short, but at
sorry
least
about
we
the,
see the
this
Rockies
morning.
answer back in a game.
You are Locked On
9
Rockies,
o'clock.
your
Premier.
daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network,
Got
your
that
team
squared away.
every day.
Stripper rates. My state is.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies
It's so
podcast
backwards.
for today,
It's so progressive
the
that it's
4th
literally
day of April in the year 2024. I'm your host of the
All right.
Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden,
we're at
bringing you your daily
11:01.
Colorado
Should we
Rockies
get
talk
going
right
here?
here on the Locked
Thanks,
On
everybody, for
Podcast
being
Network,
here
where you
live
can
stream.
find your team every day. If your
moved my
team is the
chair. It
Colorado
feels like
Rockies,
I'm
guess what?
sitting
You're in the right
low.
spot
I
because
know
that's
I'm
what we
not.
do around here each and every day. It's Talk Rockies baseball,
Sometimes when you-
baseball
when you get in
free
your
and streaming
car,
on
you're
your favorite streaming services,
Feels
bringing
like
you your
a
daily
individual
Colorado
seat
Rockies
around.
talk
That's what it feels
right
like
here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel
squared
as
up.
well.
Everything looks good. So
Folks, you
we're
can
just gonna
find us
go. We
wherever
are gonna go.
you
Do
find your
remember-
podcasts,
before
and
we go,
shout outs to
do
all
you
of you for
remember-
making us your
I think
first
it was-
listen of
what
the
was it?
day. Thank you so much for
Was it
hanging
maybe
out with us here
2020?
on another
During the
episode
holiday
of the
season?
Locked On Rockies.
And
Today we're going
we
to
were
talk about
having
the
all these
rally. We're going to talk
reports
about the
of
pulse the team
all of
showed,
these migrants
but
traveling,
the
just
issue,
like
the
huge long
problem
lines.
still
and people
is
weren't
the
able to get
mistakes.
plane
This
tickets.
team
And there was just
had
all this,
opportunities,
where are these
again,
migrants coming and going
and
from?
while
What
they
is
tied it up
going
and
on?
took
I mean,
advantage of the
what's
Cubs
happening
making
here?
mistakes,
Well,
the
now we
Rockies
kinda know.
themselves are still
we're
making
gonna roll
far
into
too
right
many
now.
of them and giving far too
Justin,
many
here we go.
opportunities to the opposition. And
We're
that
gonna
type
do
of
the
trend
intro.
isn't going to help when you get to Coors Field, even though I think a Coors Field homestand should help the Rockies. We're also going to talk about, hey, you got to
Do
give
we
your props to
have- Yep. How about that? Overdubbed. Thank you. Two, three. Okay. How about that? That better? We haven't found a good solution for the audio portion. I've got so many different articles that I bring up. Some of them autoplay and randomly at times. So I get hosed, and so I've got to make sure that I got either the audio turned off or on. So let me just take a look here. All right. Yep. Perfect. Thank you for the feedback. Here we go. Get my intro together. Almost over, most? Yeah. All right. Take two, Tristan. Here we go. Most illegal immigrants flown to Florida or Texas under the Biden program. Cut, and let's go again. Most illegal immigrants, almost over 90% of all the illegal immigrants under the One app are being flown into Florida and Texas under Biden program. Tristan, cut, and let's go. Number 3. Most illegal immigrants flown to Florida and Texas under the Biden program. That's not good either. Let's go with number 4. Some days you just have better days than others on your intros, right? And then we get into it, and then we get the flow going. Today is not one of them. Sorry you're having to experience this, but it's what we're doing. Most illegal immigrants, over 90% of the illegal immigrants flying into the United States through the Biden administration's One Border program on their little app deal, they're flown into Florida and Texas. Let's get into it. Here we go. Let's go here. We'll go here. So I was saying earlier that this is the program where if you're an illegal immigrant and you check in on the app and you get a sponsor in the United States and you've got basically a date, you can fly into the United States just You know, if you provide your own resources to get into the United States, you get flown in and you go to Texas or you go to Florida. And this is the program. It's not secret. That's what the government claims, but nobody knows about it. So it's secret, right? It's secret. I mean, this is just, it's like, what? And I've talked about, and I just talked earlier about, we've had those holiday seasons where there's just huge, enormous long lines of clearly migrants coming into the United States. And everybody's like, what's going on here? What's the dealio here? Well, now, years later, because of basically Freedom of Information Act requests to the United States government, we're finding out, oh, okay, this is the deal. Recent data from the Center for Immigration Studies suggests that about 90% of the roughly 386,000 illegal immigrants, 386,000, I think it's like 326, have actually flown in to Florida and Texas. They've flown into the United States under the Biden administration's parole program for illegal immigrants from certain countries that have been admitted to the country at ports of entry in Florida and Texas. So you got a handful of countries. You've always got like Guatemala, and you've got Haiti. Now you've got Haiti, you've got Venezuela. You got these countries where, yeah, things are a little rough there. You got a little bit of violence. You got a little bit of gang action going on. And so the United States has got these programs with these countries. We're just flying them in. What could go wrong? And this is so when it says parole program, that is basically you bring them in, give them a court hearing, and then parole them into the United States. So we're flying them in, kind of checking out who they are. One of my other topics today is going to be the fact that U.S. immigration starts offering a third gender operation on the citizenship form. A third. You can now, are you male? No. Are you female? No. Are you X? Yes, I am the X category. What is that? Are we looking for a male suspect or a female suspect? Neither. It says X on their immigration status. What are we looking for? Do we need yet another layer of shenanigans coming into the United States border, coming through the United States border? No, we don't. But this is what we're getting. It's absolute insanity, right? It's just like, what? Why would we be doing that? Yeah, okay, yeah, here we go. So the Center for Immigration Studies explained that the data obtained from U.S. Customs and Border Protection shows that initial landings of illegal immigrants have been heavily concentrated in Florida and Texas. However, the final destinations of the illegal immigrants may be other states. Post-Millennial reported that both Florida and Texas have transported large numbers of illegal immigrants to other states. And you always hear about Texas and Florida. And I always just thought it was because, well, you got DeSantis in Florida and you've got Greg Abbott in Texas, and they're proactive in not having a whole, millions and millions of illegals just plunked down in their state. So they actively, bus them or fly them to wherever, these folks want to go. So the whole thing is just this wild mess. And, a piece of legislation that everybody blames, well, if you really wanted to do something about the border, Republicans wouldn't have shut it down. That was terrible. I mean, it allowed so many illegals to just come in. It elevated the new norm of, all right, yeah, we're just going to bring in millions upon millions of people, and we're just going to make it norm. Because remember that, I mean, we passed that bill. This is just normal. So this is the Biden administration's program referenced in the Center for Immigration Studies allows as many as 30,000 individuals each month from, here's your countries, Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua to enter the United States. Haiti, not exactly stable, right? You got barbecue there, right? And you got the YouTuber going to see barbecue. He's one of the gang leaders, drug gang leaders. You got Cuba. We'll just take everybody from Cuba. How about Venezuela? Venezuela is just tippy top of the list of political instability, and you've got people fleeing there. Nicaragua. I mean, what could go wrong bringing 30,000 individuals from these countries in a month? And this is just this one program, right? Never mind all the people going through Mexico and coming in. Just insanity. One of the other reports that's out there recently has been just all the craziness at the Darian Gap. It's been shut down, been open. You've got you got Colombia on the southern side, and you got Panama on the northern. Or is it Panama? I'm blanking on the other country. No, it's maybe that is Panama. Maybe that is Panama. But I was reading one stat that Doctors Without Borders was reporting 16 sexual assaults per day on average just in the Darian Gap. And they think that's super low because most people don't want to jeopardize their, getting to the United States by tattling on the, whatever entities are bringing them through, these crazy countries. But you've just got some, just some real violence happening. And when you've got the United States just bringing 30,000 in this one program alone in a month, it's no wonder people are, trying their best to get into the United States, because why wouldn't you? Another one of my topics today is going to be, this one. Denver warns new migrants to leave, says lack of resources means they will suffer. Come to the United States. However, we don't have the resources in the city that you want to be in. So you need to go elsewhere. That's literally what the right-hand man, Mike Johnston, is saying. He's the mayor of Denver. He comes right out and says it. And somebody at one of these meetings, it was a meeting of, where they were talking to people saying, hey, we don't have the resources to take care of you. This is going to be way worse for you if you stay here in Denver than if you go to New York or you go to Chicago, where they've got, these sanctuary cities. So it's this huge entanglement of people coming into the country illegally. And then once they get here, just this enormous debacle when they get here, to the point where a big city like Denver is, oh yeah, I know we said you're welcome to come here. And hey, we're going to set everything up for you. It's going to be great. We're going to hand out whatever you need. But hey, maybe you should go take a look at New York City. They're giving out debit cards. So maybe you should go there. Yeah. Who wants to go there? Everybody says, no, we want to stay here in Denver. They've got community in Denver. And they believe Denver is, the place for them. They've spent how many months or whatever just trying to get into the United States. And then they finally get to Denver and they're told, no more room at the end. We don't have enough resources for you. What a shenanigans. You've just got shenanigans around the clock on this stuff, right? So prior to program implementation in 2023, the Miami field office logged 4,600 customs officer encounters of 9 nationalities in fiscal year 21 and 3,508 in fiscal year 2022. And the numbers have just gone up to 186,000 in fiscal year 2023. I mean, super small numbers. And then boom, this massive spike. Most of them are Cuban, Haitian, Venezuelan, and Nicaraguan. There you go. Why are we importing so many folks from these countries and making excuses for why we're doing it? Oh, it's not a secret program. Well, how come we didn't just openly disclose it? Oh, well, political fallout and the look wouldn't have been good. It would, one of those things. Oh, that's not a secret program. That's our one, border protection program, whatever it's called, the app thing. And it was rumored that the program that they're flying these in on was going to be discontinued last year. And that's why there was that massive surge through October, November, and December. We're seeing numbers start to ramp back up. You're seeing those numbers. And I say by this summer, you're going to be going gangbusters, right? Going gangbusters. Here's a second article on same topic here. Illegal program. I love how DeSantis and Abbott call it the illegal program. Because it's based on parole, and parole is meant for situations, and I've talked about this, many, many times, like where you've got Ukraine, you've got citizens from Ukraine seeking political asylum coming to the U.S. and they need to get into the country and get up and running. So you send them a court hearing and say, hey, you need to show up at this court hearing, but it's not meant for millions and millions and millions of people. It's not meant for that. That's the abuse. That is the illegal part that both Governor DeSantis and Greg Abbott are contending. Hey, this is illegal. This isn't what we're supposed to be doing. This isn't what parole means. Parole means getting people into the country that have legit contentions that they're there for political asylum, essentially, or asylum based on legal basis. And I forget what percentage most recently, but vast majority of the folks that are being let into the country right now don't qualify for asylum the way that it's meant to be. So what are we even doing? Yeah, we're just stacking the books. I mean, that's what it seems like, right? Stacking the books. So it's an illegal program. They're bringing people in who don't have a right to be in this country from foreign countries, DeSantis said on Wednesday. I love him. Meanwhile, I've got my governor, protecting stripper pole rights. I mean, literally. Got my state going, all right, we're going to give the guys that like to watch the ladies take their clothes off, we're going to give them booze, and then we're going to take that distance that we used to have between the customer and the dancer, and we're going to eliminate that. We're going to give them booze, and we're going to call it the stripper rights program. They signed a bill in. And it's just like, okay, all right. Meanwhile, you got DeSantis in Florida across the country, just literally speaking basic truth, and it's so straightforward. And when I hear him versus my governor, I'm just like, yeah. His administration highlighted a study by the Center for Immigration Studies, the one we just kind of read about, using Customs and Border Protection data, reported that migrants admitted to the U.S. via the parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans were overwhelmingly flying to Miami. 326 migrants so far to Miami. This is but one of the many examples of how Biden's egregious and unlawful immigration policies are disproportionately taxing the resources of certain states, Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody said in a statement on Tuesday. As with Biden's other unlawful policies, we will continue to fight the CHNV program in court. The policy was first announced for Venezuelans in October of 2022. It feels like this has been ramped up, right? It feels like this has been ramped up. On the down low, just, oh, hey, yeah, okay, all right. And then you've got this Center for Immigration Studies. They're doing work. And you know who met with them recently or is meeting with them? Biden administration. Yeah, we need to talk to those guys. They keep pushing our buttons and coming up with our, not secret programs. Shenanigans, right? So, first announced for Venezuelans in October 2022, which allowed a limited number to fly or travel directly into the U.S. as long as they had not entered illegally. How many illegals do we have committing crimes right now? I mean, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but you're seeing story after story after story. People that have been, kicked back out of the country, come back in. Weapons violations. They got all kinds of stuff on their criminal record. And, what are we doing? I mean, everybody needs political asylum, right? No. Toss them, I say. They had a sponsor, so they could come in as long as they had not entered the illegal. They had a sponsor in the U.S. and pass certain biometrics and biographical vetting. Which sex are you? Are you male? No. Female? I am the big X. X marks the spot. The program does not itself facilitate flights, and migrants are responsible for their own travel. Well, they can work that one out, right? They can work that one out. I'm sure there's entities here in the United States that are just ponying up for those. So in January 2023, the administration announced that the program was expanding to include Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Cubans, and that the program would allow up to 30,000 people per month. I mean, we've already got a debacle on our hands, not only in Texas and Florida, but, long term in Chicago. You got Let's Go Brandon Johnson there just trying to figure out what to do because he's barely able to take care of what he's got going on. And now 30,000 a month, coming into Texas and coming into Florida. And they are, straight sending them, all right, you want to go to California? We'll send you to San Diego. You want to go to wherever? So, the places that they are ending up are in California, and they're ending up in Chicago, and they're ending up in, Philadelphia. How'd you like to end up there? No, thank you. It's Chicago, New York are the couple of the really big ones. And those states are basically saying, yeah, we've got our hands full with what we've already got. And as these numbers surge, what's that going to look like? It's not going to be good. This is not a responsible approach. You need to secure the border and just tame these numbers way down. I know that it can't go to zero. It just can't go to zero because you're just going to have people getting through no matter what. But, unless you put the U.S. military into it, right? What if we did that? Line them up on the border. You got drones flying around. I mean, I guess it can be done, but the United States, especially in, states like California and Arizona, they're not going out of their way to stop it, are they? No. And they've got their own programs to begin with. So it allows for migrants to receive work permits and a 2-year authorization to live in the U.S., and it was announced alongside an expansion of Title 42 expulsions to include those nationalities. By the end of February 2024, more than 386,000 had arrived under the parole program. Yeah, it's part of the administration's strategy to expand unlawful pathways. You've got this as a lawful pathway that we're not really discussing. Nobody's really said anything. And until this entity, the Center for Immigration Studies, and until they started kind of really honing in on the numbers, we didn't really know what this looked like. And then once they exposed that, everybody's like, oh, holy cow. We didn't know it was going to be that many people. And it's kind of like that legislation. All right, we're going to allow up to 5,000 people a day, and then we're going to do this, 8,000 a day, and we trigger this. That means that you've allowed that many people in. It's like 1 million something people a year, when you're not shutting the border down. And those numbers are just the identified ones. They're not the gotaways. They're not all the other ones coming into the United States, because everybody knows that it's fair game to come into the United States, get what you need, and, start getting your life built in the Estados Unidos. Just absolutely crazy. I feel like we're getting hammered from a whole bunch of different ends. You know what I mean? It just feels like, what? You're doing what? So no wonder Florida and Texas have been on the front end of shuffling these people out. They get flown into their states. All right, let's get them on a bus. Let's get them out of here. Chicago, New York, Philly, DC, San Diego. Where would you like to go? Dallas? Dallas is another strong option because then they can take a bus from there. So it typically comes down to kind of these regionally centered hubs, and it has to do with affordable busing, affordable flights, and regions where, you get them up to those cities and then they take a bus or figure out transportation everywhere else. But Denver is the no-go at the moment. Denver is saying, we can't deal with it. Don't have enough resources. Another article I was reading was how in New York City, a family of 4 illegal immigrants is now getting paid more per month than a family with a disabled vet in it. I mean, the numbers are just, it's crazy. So illegals are getting more than veterans of the United States military. So how does that work? How is that fair? I mean, and we don't even know if these people are going to qualify for asylum long term. We don't know. They haven't had their hearing yet. Right? Are we just going to rubber stamp each one of those hearings? Doesn't seem like it, but feels like that's actually kind of what's going on. And the long-term goal here, is it to shift the population? Shift the census? I mean, it doesn't seem like these are not the creme de la creme of the crop, are they? No, they're not. And yet they're coming into the country anyway. And they're coming in through programs like this. And it's become obvious, all right, they're sending them into Texas and Florida because Texas and Florida basically have no choice but to facilitate. We got to get them off our books. Let's move them elsewhere. And they've also, I think Texas in January, February had spent $150 million in bus fare. Driving these people. Did you guys see the lawsuit that the the companies that drove the illegals, or was it flying or driving? I can't remember. I think it was driving. It was bus rides into Martha's Vineyard can sue those companies. Yeah. The judge said, no, you can't sue the governor and you can't sue the states. You can sue the companies facilitating travel into Martha's Vineyard, because a number of them were pissed off. The Martha's Vineyard said, oh, no, you can't be here, and sent them packing. So there's literally a lawsuit going on for that. It's like, okay, how does that differ at all from what I'm talking about here? 326,000 illegal immigrants flown by the U.S. government, authorized by the U.S. government into Texas and Florida. How does that differ any more than Texas or Florida sending a bus to, maybe it was a plane, I can't remember, to Martha's Vineyard? How does that differ? So a lawsuit? No, that's ridiculous. But there's a lot of ridiculous stuff going on. Like here in Washington State, you got a strippers, Bill of Rights. Literally, that was my that was my 9:15 podcast this morning. You got some crazy stuff going on. You got some wild stuff going on. All right, I'm going to move on to the next segment here. I think we've beaten this one to death, but know that this is one of those behind the scenes with a whole bunch of numbers to it. And because it's kind of this program that's secret, but not, you got illegals coming at you from 10 different ways from Sunday, right? Yeah, that's happening. So, all right, let's move on to the next segment here. And here it is. Denver warns new migrants to leave, says lack of resources means they will suffer. Yeah, we got the second in command to the governor, or to the mayor of Denver, basically coming right out and saying, yeah, resources. We got a little issue with those. So if you could go anywhere other than Denver, yeah, that'd be great. Who wants to leave? Let's get into it. Here we go. All right, we're going to watch I'm going to see what you guys are talking about here just a little bit. And are you guys speaking knowingly again? Knowingly? A state ferry takes people to Martha's Vineyards, or one can fly in. Did they fly in on that deal? Somebody needs to let me know. I think they did fly in, right? Illegal aliens are bringing Shigella to Florida. I mean, yeah, doesn't surprise me. It's more of a homeless thing, though. It's more of a man-on-man homeless deal, right? Just gross. All right, I'm going to let's jump back into this topic here, and we're going to watch a little video. This and like this, and sometimes I want to go and touch my screen, but computer screens don't work like that.
The city of Denver is offering a stark warning to newly arriving migrants. Stay here and you will suffer. Denver's offering migrants help to move on to anywhere else in the country. Tonight, for the first time, we're able to see how Denver tries to convince migrants to leave in video obtained by Next from inside a migrant shelter.
The opportunities are over. That's Andres Carrera, political director for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston.
Nueva York te da más, Chicago te da más. Entonces sugiero que vaya por allá, donde hasta también con un albergue de más largo plazo, también hay más oportunidades de trabajo por allá.
Carrera is Denver's so-called newcomer communications liaison. That means that he meets the busloads of new arrivals. The city says this group got here on March 26, sent up by Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He warns them the jobs, the resources, the opportunities have already gone to the 40,000 migrants who came to Denver before them.
Hemos recibido demasiados migrantes y por eso se acabaron los recursos. Mira, no te vamos a bloquear. Si quieres permanecer aquí, no estoy aquí para bloquearte. Estoy aquí para avisarte que tu camino no ha terminado. Si permanecen aquí.
Your path is not over. You have more to your path. You need to leave Denver, continue your path elsewhere. Terrible.
Parents listen quietly as children play on the floor. As Denver tells these families that have sometimes walked from one continent to another that they just have to keep moving. But they don't have to walk. Denver will buy them a bus ticket.
Tu camino no ha terminado. Tu camino no ha terminado. Que viajas un tantito más. No tienes que caminar por ningún parte. Podemos comprarte boleto gratuito. Puedes ir a cualquier ciudad. Hasta la frontera de Canadá te llevamos.
I find it interesting that he mentioned you can go to any city. We can take you up to the Canadian border, wherever. The Canadian border. Now, why would you want to go to the Canadian border? You want to go into Canada? Are you trying to get into Canada? I mean, because most of these folks, they want to get away from the border as quick as they can. Because that whole ICE thing, right? And they just know that the border isn't where they want to be. That's why Denver is a good bet. Because it's not by the border.
The city says it won't buy bus tickets to Canada, but it will help migrants get to American border cities up north. It's a desperate pitch by Denver, a city that has taken in more migrants per capita than any city outside the southern border and is looking at $120 million in budget cuts to pay for migrant services. The moment of truth. Who in the crowd wants to go to a different city? And who wants to stay in Denver? Todos, a migrant says.
Everyone. One guy just, they don't say anything. And one guy just pops off with, all of us, we all want to stay in Denver. We worked our asses to get here. You said you were a sanctuary city. You said you would take us in. 40,000 of us came here before this crew, and now you're saying no? What's up with that? What's up with that? I mean, that's what I'd be saying if I was one of these guys. But it's to be expected, right? This is to be expected. This is the sanctuary city shenanigans. Oh, yeah, bring them in. Oh, no, budget. Oh, holy cow, we can't do that. So ridiculous.
Everyone.
The clock is now ticking for the migrants who arrived on that bus. Families have 6 weeks in Denver shelters and then they must go. Individuals get 14 days in shelter. As they were warned, after that, there may not be resources to help them.
14 days. Does that, I mean, what's that going to get you? What are you going to do with 14 days? Whole thing is just preposterous, isn't it? Yeah. And we're sanctuary city, but yeah, the whole budget thing. I mean, we ran through all of our money. We've got situations here where we've got, some people are saying, I think Jason Rantz was saying that he thinks it's going to be CHOP 2.0. He thinks that we're going to have an area that gets taken over by illegals. Because what we've got is we've had same group of a couple hundred illegals. They've been staying in a hotel in Kent. They've been staying in a church in Tukwila, it is. I think both of these are cities just a little bit south of Seattle. Call it south of Seattle. And they have literally gone twice to the city of Seattle council meetings begging for money. The first time, our mayor here, Bruce Harrell, he posted them up for, I can't remember how long, a month, something like that. And then they came back at that council meeting that I showed where Sarah Nelson said, you can't be disrupting this council meeting. And guess what? We don't have the money to support you. You need to be looking at the county. You need to be looking at the state to help you out. Just because Seattle is big and we have resources doesn't mean that we're just going to pony out the money for you guys to be in a hotel where the state should be taking care of that or their county should be taking care of that. So 6 people got arrested from that. They got bailed out. It's just this whole ridiculous thing. But now you've got this situation where I think somebody else, an anonymous donor, chipped in for 11 days in hotels for this big, huge group. But Jason Rantz is saying, yeah, this could be CHOP 2.0. This could very well have that happen because you've got so many of the activists that are driving these migrants to these meetings, to these hearings. And these activists are just right in the middle. And they're the exact same ones that basically created CHOP and created all the, had, two black kids got murdered. Wait, nice going, guys. Yeah, that worked out swimmingly, didn't it? Just the whole CHOP thing. Yeah, that was just a train wreck that happened. Let's read this one. Denver warns new migrants to leave, says lack of resources means they will suffer. Ugh. Video obtained by 9 News. That's the video. That's kind of the famous video that, that's the video that we watched. That's the famous video that I don't think was meant to be, it wasn't intended for the general population. It just wasn't. That wasn't meant to get out. You can see the angle that was shot from. That was shot from behind, right? So that happened. And I don't think I did an intro for this video. So Tristan, here's intro on video number 2. If I did already, maybe this one will be better. Can't remember. Here we go. Denver warns new migrants to leave, says lack of resources means they will suffer. Denver, what have we got going on? Let's get into it. Here we go. In the clip obtained by 9 News, Denver's newcomer. Sorry, guys, I'm all over the place. Just remembered I had to cut an audio feed there. In a clip obtained by 9 News, Denver's newcomer communications liaison, Andres Carrera, who also serves as Mayor Mike Johnston's political director, tells newly arrived migrants that Denver cannot support them. The opportunities are over. I mean, it's not that the opportunities are over. It's that the opportunities have been constricted. You've got fewer opportunities. Carrera says to the group in Spanish, New York gives you more, Chicago gives you more. We heard that. So I suggest you go there where there was longer term shelter. You know what? You're going to have the exact same thing happen in New York City, and it's already happening, right? It's already happening. Eric Adams he's basically just saying, you're going to destroy the city if you keep coming in the numbers you are. And meanwhile, you've got Biden bringing people in by the hundreds of thousands, that first program that I read about being one of the primary drivers. Denver is offering to pay for migrants' onward bus fare to destinations of their choice, a decision cried by other cities also struggling with the migrant crisis. So now what you've got is you've got all of these sanctuary cities and adjoining non-sanctuary cities in kind of this tussle, right? Okay, we're going to send them your way. Oh, no, you're not going to send them my way. Chicago and New York City came up with all these rules and different things that people were, being forced to do. States like Florida and Texas that were shipping people around. You got to drop them off here. You can't do any other drop-offs on the weekends. All this criteria. Texas and Florida just blew past there because they've literally got these people coming in by the thousands. Then you got to shuffle them through. Got to shuffle them through your system. Because otherwise, you just have these big hordes of people, like the hordes of people in El Paso, where you had a couple hundred bum rush the border, bum rush National Guard. National Guard got injured. I mean, some of those guys got injured. And then those folks are still incarcerated, I believe. There's been this whole issue of, do we let them out? Do we keep them in? Do we let them out? The whole thing is just an absolute train wreck. The migrants Carrera is seen speaking to in the video arrived in Denver March 26 on a bus organized by Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott was I know that DeSantis did some. He shipped out some. And initially he was kind of neck and neck with Texas. But I think there's been so many more that have come through Texas by, doing the Caminante walk, doing the walk through 7 or 8, maybe 10 countries, and then finally through Mexico. doing that walk right into Texas, whereas Florida, different drill. They're being flown in there for a large part. Now you've got the situation with Haiti just absolutely breaking down. You're going to see more and more folks come from Haiti. And that whole thing is just, but you know what? The United States, we can't be responsible for the entire world's political instability. So you've got some countries that, aren't doing great. Doesn't mean you got to let all their people in. It's just not a sustainable pattern of immigration. So yeah, make that vote count. That's the bottom line, right? Got to get a new guy in town. Yeah, you need to get a new leader of the free world. Abbott has bragged about flooding Denver and other so-called sanctuary cities with migrants who have crossed the U.S. border with Mexico. I don't think he's bragged. All he said is that we are sending people where they want to go. We are facilitating their dreams of, becoming an American citizen. And if the federal government is just going to let them come in willy-nilly, however they want, whatever sex now that they want to be. We have received too many migrants, and that's why we ran out of resources, Carrera tells an assembled crowd inside Denver's main migrant shelter. We're not going to block you. Remember hearing him say that? If you want to stay here. If you want to stay here, you're going to suffer even more, and I don't want to see this. That's not very sanctuary city-like. That's not very welcoming. What are you doing there? And you're basically telling people to go elsewhere. That's literally straight up what he's telling people to do. And what's interesting is that this isn't coming from an official statement. This was somebody at that meeting videoing it and then posting it. You think they probably posted it to TikTok? Yeah, probably did. That TikTok guy he was, a Venezuelan illegal? And he got on and said, we can squat in all these houses because if you stay there long enough, they have to give the houses to you. Just that ridiculous statement. He has been, he's been arrested and he's got some issues. He's got a firearm issue. He's got an ICE hearing issue. Yeah, he's got some issues. So that guy's going to be tied up for a little while. So Denver is enforcing strict limits on how long newly arrived migrants can stay in city shelters. Remember, we got 14 days for 2 weeks for individuals and 6 weeks for families with children. These sanctuary cities, to tell people to come to our city and then give them 14 days, what's that going to do for them? They're going to end up in a tent on the sidewalk, right? That's what they're going to end up doing. They're going to end up some, like here in Seattle, because we don't have a ton of support for the illegals, because we've got, I don't know if you know this, we've got quite a homeless issue to contend with, quite a homeless issue. They're ending up staying in churches. They're staying in these churches, which, to a point, you got to help folks. But when the federal government just, crams millions of these folks down our throats, and that's where I'm like, you know what? You've got to have a system that works, and you've got to enforce the border, and you've got to have a system of immigration that is something other than what we've got going on right now. But it seems like they're trying to cook the books. They're trying to cook those books on the Census Bureau. Maybe all these illegals are going to vote for Democratic parties down the road, because they're certainly not coming in, when Trump's in office. We had record low numbers. Trump was going ham on the wall. Different times, right? Different times. You look at the numbers of illegals that came through during the Trump 4 years in office, and what we've got going on here, 10 million, 11 million, somewhere right in that range of known illegals into the country, just been dumped into the country. I'm sure that'll work out fine. I'm sure that'll be fine. The clip shows kids milled about at Carrera's feet as he speaks with their parents, some of whom may have walked much of the journey to the United States, as a lot of them do. You don't have to walk anywhere. We can buy you a free ticket, Carrera tells them. You can go to any city. We can take you up to the Canadian border, wherever. City spokesperson clarified that Denver is not buying bus tickets to Canadian cities. Yeah, we're not going to get you over the border because, yeah. It's a no-go, right? These people don't have they'd have to go through Canadian immigration to get there. Canadian border. That's clearly just not happening. They're not legal in our country for our country to be able to send them elsewhere. You can go to any city. We can take you up to the Canadian border, wherever. I mean, it's just the fact that he got caught, I think, is his greatest sin, right? That he got caught talking about this on tape, on video. And then city of Denver's like, oops, my bad. Maybe we should tone that down a tad. We need to put out a statement. We're not sending them to Canada, but we'll get you close. Get you close. And that's because all the other cities have basically been overrun. And that's because Texas and Florida and all the border states have been overrun for years. So this is kind of where we sit. In the clip, Carrera makes an impassioned pitch to the migrants to leave Denver, offering Chicago, New York, and Miami as alternative destinations with more resources and more Spanish speakers. As he wraps up his remarks, Carrera asks the crowd, okay, who wants to travel to another city where there is more work? I don't think we heard anybody say, me, that sounds great. I would love to travel some more. Send me to, right? Who wants to stay in Denver? And you hear one guy say, todos. Just means everybody. The migrant replies, they don't want to go anywhere. They worked hard to get to Denver. I don't know if you know this, but Denver's a little bit of a trek from the border. A little bit of a trek. Is it 600 miles, I think, if memory is correctly, from maybe the Tucson sector? 600 miles? I mean, you take a 600-mile bus ride, that's a decent little trip. You get flown in from somewhere. I mean, these folks have made a huge effort to get to Denver, and now Denver, the sanctuary city, is basically saying, no more. We're tapped out. It's so hypocritical, and it's so two-faced. It's like, you're either there to help them or you're not. The whole budget thing, I mean, you knew it was going to cost XYZ number of dollars per head, right? In New York City, I think it runs like $3,000 a month for just the housing and food per immigrant. And so that's why they're willing, and that's why these cities are willing to buy them plane tickets, bus tickets, whatever it takes. Bus ticket is, kind of more direct route. And that's how most of them have been traveling. But so many have also come in on the one program, the federal program, to airports. And I mean, they don't have to provide an ID. Now they have facial recognition imaging taken. But they didn't have to, the geriatric system that you have to go through, TSA, to get into the United States. Oh, yeah, I might have an explosive in my shoe, right? I mean, the crazy system there that came out of 9/11. All right, we're going to check your bag. We're going to check this. We're going to check that. And these illegals come through, and they don't even have an ID. And it's like, all right, get them on the plane. It's going to be fine. Just this complete craziness. And then the whole, all right, yeah, pick a sex. Male? No. Female? No. Take your choice. Take your choice. It's all good. So all these things are happening. And it makes you think, how's this gonna work long term? What's gonna happen? How is this gonna be slowed down? Because the political stability in these countries isn't stopping. It's getting worse. I mean, look at Haiti. I mean, you talk about out of control. If you follow the news there, I mean, it is brutal. And I don't blame these people for getting out, but the United States can't make it their job to house everybody because it's just not feasible. So you're going to have to take, the worst of the worst, meaning the people that are they're going to be killed if they go back to their country. I don't know how you determine that. But you got to slow down what you got going on right now because this is not sustainable. But we've been saying that for a long time. And the same thing keeps happening. I've got another 300,000 this month that have come through. It's just crazy. It's just shenanigans left and right. So, all right, I'm going to move on to the next segment here. If you're on the live stream, don't leave. And I'll do Tristan, I'll do a wrap up at the end here, incorporating all of these. This one's going to be a quick one. Let's do this one. Do the intro. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Trump will clean the house. Man, I hope you're right. I would love to see that. Just all of these ridiculous things going on. Yeah, DeSantis needs to have the National Guard deployed at every airport in Florida. How about he needs to have the National Guard deployed in boats because they're coming in on boats from Haiti. We're seeing a bunch of that. I mean, that's not going to be sustainable. Denver will soon be a third world city. Absolutely. I mean, if it's not getting there already. Denver has really rocketed to the foreground of progressiveness, hasn't it? I mean, it has really caught up. And because I remember Colorado back in the day kind of being more of a frontiersville type vibe. Now you've just got, with Denver especially, I know you got Boulder and some other big cities fall along the same lines, but Denver is the real poster child to just going down that progressive route. And that's how you end up with that last story that I read. It's just like, okay, you guys are terrible at running your government. You've already got so much homelessness, and now you're going to throw in a whole bunch of migrants. What could go wrong? All right, let's go ahead and read this next story. Tristan, here is our intro. No, I'm going to do this, and we've still got our audio cut. We should be good. So the U.S. immigration, in its infinite wisdom, it is starting to offer a third gender option on the citizenship form. Male? No. Female? Nope. X marks the spot. That's for you, and that's available if you're coming into the United States as an illegal immigrant. X marks the spot. Let's get into it. Here we go. I find this one to be just absolutely absurd. You are either male or female, especially for citizenship. How you came into this world, that's what we're going to put down on your citizenship paperwork. That's how it should be. Instead of this, just choose what you want to be. It'll be fine. That doesn't count. That's make-believe, right? That's just make-believe. It's just people making stuff up. I was watching a video. Somebody was reading a book. It was the entire alphabet with the first letter that signified different, sexual orientations. Some of the things in there I had never heard of. I mean, sexual orientation, they, them, and you're like, what? What? No, you got two sexes, period. You got two sexes. And this whole, gender is a fluid. No, it's not. It's really not. It's really not. It's not fluid at all. It's male or female. Everybody knows that. Anybody else who wants to go down a different direction, like the U.S. immigration, but it makes me think that U.S. immigration is throwing this out there to further confuse things. I mean, that's what I come up with. Let's read the story, see what they say. I'm going to have to go with, there's going to be some shenanigans in here. Some shenanigans. Immigrants to the U.S. can now decide that they are not female or male. Oh, okay. All right. Strong start. But a third unspecified gender when applying for citizenship. Unspecified. Which sex organs do you have? Unspecified. What's that? Yeah. Do you have one or not? Pretty clear, right? Yeah. So I got the X. That's not the X chromosome. That's the X marks the spot on your citizenship paperwork. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services revised its N400 application. Yeah, it's right here. I looked it up for you so you don't have to. It's so bad. Provides third gender option on Form N400. Well, that's some bogus nonsense because there isn't a third gender. But if you want to kid yourself and play make-believe, okay, that's horrible on an immigration status. Naturalization form to provide applicants with the option of selecting another gender identity labeled X, it announced on Monday. Historically, USCIS forms and associated documents have only offered two gender options, male and female. Huh, that's shocking, isn't it? Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, remember back when we only had two sexes? Yeah, this has created significant barriers for requesters who do not identify with either of those options. Strip them down, see what they got, mark that on their paperwork. I don't know. Is that outrageous? I don't think so. I mean, you get stripped down when you go into prison, right? You hiding anything in there? I need you to bend over. Yeah, no, that looks good. Yep. Looks good. All right. Yep. No crack in there except for the crack. Yeah. This doesn't have to be. This is ridiculous. Limiting benefit requesters to two gender options also creates administrative challenges for USCIS when we receive birth certificates or other official government issued documents with a gender other than male or female. I don't care. Figure it out. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. And go with that. Put that down. I mean, this whole thing is, what are you? What do you identify as? I identify as this. Oh, no, I identify as this. Seeing more and more statistics on people that really regret having the sex change. Is that not shocking? I mean, how horrible. Yeah, I really regret that. I don't have one. Or I don't have them. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, I wish I could get them back. Yeah, not a good call. Yeah, they told me that gender fluidity is, it's a thing. And I was working through my teens and I just decided, take it all off. It's going to be great. It's going to be the best thing ever. The people you see trying to convince themselves that this is going to be the greatest thing ever, and you just know, all right, psychologically, that's going to have an impact on them, obviously, for the rest of their lives, and not necessarily a good one. The government claimed that by adding the third gender option, officials can ensure that identity documents and biographical data are accurate. I'm sorry, what? What are you talking about? That makes no sense at all. Let's really confuse things and not put down whether they're male or female. Because, some non-binary option, well, what are you going to be looking for? Well, we're looking for a non-binary. Well, I mean, yeah, but is it male or female? Oh, no. You got X on this paperwork here. Go out and find X. They noted that for the move to revise the form is consistent with the stance of federal and some state governments. Yeah, probably mine. Probably Washington State. Florida, probably not so much. Texas, I'm going to have to say no. Probably not so much, right? As well as efforts to break down barriers in the immigration system. And why are we breaking down barriers in the immigration system? Those barriers are there for a reason. Why are we doing that? You know what I mean? And reduce undue burdens in accessing immigration benefits. These are the shenanigans I'm telling you about. Reduce undue burdens in accessing immigration benefits. What are you talking about? By making them an X on their paperwork, that's going to do that? Okay, all right. Yeah, you can't just figure it out and put it down for them? No, Sean, that is not inclusive. That is not inclusive enough. We need more inclusivity. Non-binary immigrants, how is that even a thing? I'm asking for a friend. Non-binary immigrant, no, we're not accepting any of those. Nope. But when you bring through 11 million people, even if they're coming from other countries, and maybe that's why they're running from their countries, because they're being hunted down because they don't accept that type of, life decision. I'm going to identify as a Tonka truck. You know what I mean? Non-binary immigrants do not need to provide any documentation to support their decision. Just, yep. No, non-binary. I mean, we all know that's the truth, right? We all know that that's the deal. People are just making this stuff up. Just, I am this, Zem, Zender, Zuda, whatever, Tonka truck, you betcha. And the gender an applicant selects on the form does not need to match the gender marker on other official documents like their birth certificate, passport, or state ID. How does that help anything? Yeah, it gets them their benefits. Aren't they getting their benefits pretty easily, whether they're male or female? Aren't we just handing those out like candy in all these cities? Isn't that what's going on? Oh, I mean, with the exception of Denver, which is going back on its word, right? And New York City and Chicago and DC. Yeah, they've all realized, yeah, the numbers in the budget are not looking good. However, applicants that do select the X option may be required to visit a Social Security office to update their citizenship status or obtain a Social Security card, officials warned. You Xers, you non-binary people, you're going to have to go to a Social Security office. You have to give a little update, do a little updating. How hard is that? These people are just going to run around and do their thing, aren't they? And with some of these hearings out as far as 2031, I mean, we are just creating shenanigan after shenanigan scenario. We just are. We're literally in the process of doing it in real time. What could go wrong with all of this? They said the Social Security Administration is also working on ways to add a third gender option, and other immigration forms may be revised in the future to allow for gender identity. I'm a hard no-go on this one. What do you guys think? Yeah, hard no-go. No, yeah, no. You're immigrating, male or female. Which one? Choose, pick. X, that's not an option. No. Could you imagine? Can you imagine like 50 years ago, somebody going to a border, going to immigration and saying, I'm non-binary? You'd be like, what? No, it's male or female. You got to pick one. I'm non-binary. I identify. We don't really care what you identify with. This is what you are. Go into the bathroom and check it out yourself. You'll see that I'm right. The move to add the third gender identity comes after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security said it, too, was working on expanding gender options. Why do we need this? Why do we need this? Because when it's a security issue, you need to be able to find somebody for doing something bad. The X option doesn't really work. It's not really a thing. Yeah, we're looking for that non-binary. The agency asked for public input on barriers to the benefits and services and found that the evidentiary requirements associated with gender marker changes created barriers for individuals. Why don't we just give them a huge stack of cash the minute they break through into our country illegally? Just give them a huge old stack of cash. Just make it rain on them. Just make it. Why don't we do that? I mean, effectively, that's what we're doing. Yeah. This stuff is just, it's mind-blowing that this is literally our reality. This is what our government is doing. Now, why are you doing that? Yeah. But Matt O'Brien, former chief of the National Security Division, here comes reasonable. He's going to point out some shenanigans himself, isn't he? Said the move to include a third gender is a disaster waiting to happen. I would second that. I would second that. All right, so look at these photos. Now, just take that. Here's the rush of the border at El Paso. Take a handful of these people. They're bad hombres because essentially statistics say, based on the data and the science, my governor used to like to say, and so many people, get that 45th jab, get that update, make sure you're good. And then they get the Rona. The rest of us are like, look at you. Based on the data and the science, a certain percent of these people are going to commit crimes. Just are. It's sociology. It's humanity, right? Now we're running after them, chasing them, and they're a X-gender? Yeah. I mean, they should, if you want to play that game, that's fine, but they should have their real sex. And by the real sex, I mean the one that they're brought into the world as, not changed, not surgery. I got new ones. Look at me go. I'm a woman. Not really. Not so much. Not so much. And do not be going into if you're a dude, do not be going into the women's restroom or the women's locker room. Talked about that. And hard no-go on that one. There was a case up in Alaska where, a female ratted out a man shaving in the women's locker room while there was like a 12-year-old girl cowered in the corner because she's like in a towel. What do I do? There's a man right there. So the woman told on the man in the women's locker room. She had her this was at Planet Fitness, the Purple Gym. She had her membership revoked. You can't do that. Non-binary. He associates as non-binary. He's part of the LGBTQ, community. Therefore, he can walk into the women's locker room and do a little shave of that 5 o'clock shadow so he can get on to his next meeting and, scope out the 12-year-olds in the corner cowering in a towel. It's what we're doing. That was in Alaska. Not good. Hard no-go on men in the women's locker room or restroom. Yeah, that's a no-go. Those are those are fighting terms, right? I mean, you see that happening. Like, no, we're not doing this. That's no. Grab him by the scruff of the neck and you're out of here, Junior. And then you lose your gym membership. Yeah. This update will now enable people with nefarious intentions to add another layer of complexing to the vetting process, obscuring their sex. 100% agree. This update, I mean, it's already hard enough to vet people who come from places that use non-Roman alphabets. So you come from China and you choose to, have X marks the spot. Yeah. How easy is it going to be to find that person? No. Rather than spending their time vetting immigrants for possible threats, officers will now have to waste time tracking down birth certificates without knowing whether they are searching for a male or a female, he explained. That is not that hard to figure out, is it? No. I mean, you see this coming from a mile away and you're like, why are we doing this? It does seem like it's to further muddy the waters, and the more you muddy the waters, the more people you get in, because you can't banish them from the country. They're non-binary. Yeah. Ken Cuccinelli, a former director of UCSIS, that's Customs, or whatever it is, bringing people into the country illegally, who later served as the acting Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security under Trump administration, also expressed concern. Love that word. Got some concern on this. It's overwhelmingly radical, woke, political virtue signaling, but it will make law enforcement more difficult with each individual. Straight up. Who are we looking for? Don't really know. That does not help things. Does not help things. It just, it hides the fact that you got people in the country that shouldn't be here, and you've just got one more, step to take. All right. We're looking for not a man, not a woman, but a non-binary. And I have no idea how to pronounce his name because it's a bunch of symbols. The current priority of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services isn't to fix the mass illegal immigration crisis. It's to introduce a third gender option on their forms, former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy said. It's so true. It's so true. Let's not cut down on all the people coming into the country illegally. Let's give them a third gender option. Now let's just make this a little bit more confusing. Sarah Fields, the president of the Texas Freedom Coalition, also claimed that gender ideology is destroying our country literally. I believe that. We have gone way too far down some of these roads. Just the making up of all these different sexes and different ways you identify yourself. You're playing make-believe. You're just throwing some stuff out there that I don't believe is based on any, semblance of reality. So it's really difficult to be this bad on the border crisis and yet find another way to be even worse. This was Chad Prather, the host of Chad Prather Show podcast. You know what? We are seeing in real time how to make it worse. We're doing it. We're literally doing it. But the USCIS insists that the change to the forms will have no effect on its screenings and vetting process. Rightio. How are you going to know? Well, what are you looking for? What's going on? How do you measure the number of men and women when you've got a third option that doesn't identify either one? What do the numbers look like? You're just cooking the books. USCIS remains committed to the integrity of the immigration system, and it's maintaining a key identity verification, such as biometric submission, fraud prevention procedures, yada, yada. That's a bunch of nonsense. If you're throwing out a third sex or a third way to identify your sex, what are you even doing? I mean, and this is the government. It's the government doing this. This isn't just some crazy left, wing, just nut job. Not like the nut jobs that we've got here in Seattle that are continually mixing things up. And, they just create massive headache for everybody else because everybody else is trying to go in a direction. You got these nut jobs. Yeah, let's let the illegals come in and pick their sex. If they don't identify with one, give a third option. What could go wrong? It's crazy, right? It's crazy. Well, that's going to be it on this segment. I'm going to move on to the next one here. So let's do that. My next one's a good one. You're going to like the next one. Ugh. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. All right. Is that enough of an out? Yeah. Tristan, you're just going to have to cut and paste these. You do that already, though. Tristan's the editor. He's the one that's behind the scenes. He does all the magic that makes me look like I'm not a stuttering idiot. Can't get my intro down. Let's do it the 5th time, Tristan. He makes that happen. And when you see it, you're like, yeah, this is really good. This guy's good. Well, it's not necessarily me. Team effort, right? Team effort. Let's see what you guys are talking about on the live stream before we go into the next one. And you are going to like the next one. I guarantee it. Refuse to fund the illegals and fly them straight to Martha's Vineyard, Delaware, and D.C. Problem solved. 100% agree. Why don't we just do that? Why aren't we sending more to Martha's Vineyard? I know that DeSantis has said we might send some there. I hope he does. I hope he flies the biggest jets that he has and just drops them off. Just what about a couple of thousand illegals in Martha's Vineyard? I think that'd be great. Probably won't happen, though. The illegals that rush the border, deport them to Haiti, regardless of where they're from, send them to someplace very unpleasant, make a deterrence, or this will keep happening. You know what? 100% agree. You can't make this easy. Oh, which sex are you? You can't make it easy. That's not how this is supposed to go. I just come on in. Because then everybody and their brother and mother and sister are going to do it. And that's literally where we sit right now. Now, I don't think Haiti is taking anybody back. And I know Venezuela is not taking anybody back. And I think we're having some issues with Guatemala. And because that whole, well, if you throw them back across the border, they're probably going to get killed. At some point in time, you got to say, not my problem. Sounds horrible and it sounds callous, but the United States can't take everybody. Just like, Europe can't take everybody's, handful of countries where people are going in Europe. You can't do it long term. And that's why other countries have, systematic. Yes, you can become a citizen, but here's the qualifications you have to abide by. And meanwhile, you can't just roam around our country. Whereas with the parole that Biden's got going on, that's literally what's going on. By the way, here's your court hearing. It's in 2031. It's in 7 years from now. That 11-year-old, yeah, he's going to be able to vote by the time he's going to be able to buy tobacco products. I think you can still do that at 18. He's going to be able to go into a strip club by the time you have your hearing. 18, I think, is the cutoff, right? Maybe it's 21 with it's 18 in Washington State because we didn't have liquor. Now we've got liquor, 21. So, yeah, whatever. He's going to be able to go into the military, volunteer for the military. Can illegal immigrants who are not citizens, can they voluntarily go in the military? I know we had that deal where if you volunteer for the military, you get citizenship quicker. But that was on a special program. I don't know. See what else you guys are talking about. Yeah, it's too late for Denver to rid itself of these legal aliens. Leftist Colorado voted for this problem. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and we don't have this many jobs available and not even picking fruit. Yeah, don't have enough of the low-end jobs. So where are all these people miraculously going to work? And we've talked about it. Denver will soon be a third world city. If it's not already. I mean, from the numbers, and there's more to come. There's more. There's going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of illegals because we're watching them come, through Mexico. And you're seeing these caravans. I talked about that last week. You're seeing these caravans. They're just going to come in wave after wave after wave because whatever they're running from in their country, whether it's Venezuela, Haiti, wherever, that's not getting any better. So they're going to do whatever it takes to get out. And as long as the U.S. is basically saying, come on in, come on in, come on in, that's what they're going to do. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. Yeah, so it's just crazy. I had a guy ready to fight because I told him Colorado pizza sucks. Does it? Does it suck? Does the pizza suck in Colorado? I haven't been to Colorado. Denver. as a young adult, maybe. I don't remember the pizza though. Pizza sucks. Your pizza sucks. Your state sucks. Your pizza sucks. Make really sure no one has any cells or cams on them from now on. Yeah, so true. So true. Now, when you're talking to the illegals, make sure nobody has their camera doing this to you, because that means they're recording. Now, in fairness to the dude who was talking, he had his back to the illegal or whomever it was. It's got to be, that had to have been illegal, right? Because otherwise, Denver would not have wanted this to get out. But it got out, and I'm glad it did, because it provides a little bit more transparency that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. They said that today, part of the agenda is when they get jobs, they send money home, which supports their origin country economy. Yeah, that's a huge thing, right? That's a huge thing. And that is what you hear if you ever hire anybody from Central America, South America at your local Home Depot. They will tell you straight up, yeah, I'm sending, I'm living, 14 of us are living in a, 3-bedroom home, and we're working as much as we can, and we spend no money. We just drink the cerveza at nights, do a little bit of that. But beyond that, we're sending a bunch of money home to our families because that's how we're supporting them. This whole notion that the United States has to provide all of these jobs to make the rest of the world go around isn't a sustainable option. See if there's anything else good here. Oops. Can we just keep the Spanish women and send the dudes back? Probably could. Might be a little bit discriminatory, but, whatever. Yeah, there's not a lot of great options, right? Not a lot of great options. Let's go ahead and let's tee up our next one. It's a good one. Let's get into this one. Let's do this one. Here we go. Tristan, this is number 4. Number 4, squatters sell Texas woman's belongings at yard sale, turn her home into a drug den, and basically destroy it. Let's get into this one. How did this happen? Let's take a look. Here we go. Let's go like that. And you know what? We're going to go like this because we've got, hate to do it. This isn't what I brought up. This is the one I need. Here we go. I'll do TikTok. Go like that. I am not a TikTok fan because I think, China, right? China. All right. Looks like I'm going to have to go on the fly because this is a TikTok video. Here we go, folks. I'm going to cut this one.
So for those of you who've been following, I had a squatter in my house in Texas while I've been home taking care of my mom. And today I finally got my eviction done, only to find that pretty much everything I own has been stolen and that my house, well, I'll show you some video of how awesome it looks. So just starting with the front door, it used to be black. This lovely pile of trash instead. Yeah. That's a brand new mattress, or it was when I bought it last year. Here's where I used to have a refrigerator. Yeah. And then here's my kitchen, which is now apparently a junk room, and my chef's pots that I saved that are now just been left in the sink. My kitchen, it actually flowed quite well, and it went through, to the laundry room, which the light's now missing and has no washer and dryer. It does, however, have some rotten and gross food. Yeah, that's amazing. Also, I'd had this painted and had shelves. Somehow the drawers on my wet bar are warped, and I don't know what this gray color is. Come down to the hallway and you can see, oh look, more trash. Oh, also, every single light in the ceiling has been taken down. And
thermostat, we pulled the wires out. Look, we've made a hole.
This is where my Nest thermostat was, and now, there's nothing. So that's awesome. For those of you who hate landlords, just so you know, this wasn't even my tenant. It was a squatter. Here's my guest room. I don't know what any of this is. And then there's a thing of stinky water in my floor, a purse that's ruined, and some other stuff. I don't know what that is. And then here's my master bedroom that I had painted. Learned to put up wallpaper for. You don't have to like it. I loved it. And now I don't know what this is. Also, this is a bed frame. And this was a brand new bed that was in the box that's now covered in filth and completely stained. And finally, the patio. Where is my mattress that I saved up for so I could get a really nice high-end one? I slept on it 3 nights before I had to go to Florida. So anyway, today's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I got my house. Sucks. And now I have this to deal with. All right. I hope this person who did this steps on a Lego every day for the rest of their life. And I hope I can find some people to come haul all of this off. Yeah, life's awesome. All right, have a great day.
Have a great day. She is not going to be having a great long time with all that ridiculousness going on, right? I mean, so yeah, we'll read the article. Let's read the article because this could happen to anybody, and this is in Texas of all places. I think it was Mesquite, I believe. I'm gonna kill that. The thing that got me on this one is that they sold most all of her possessions at a yard sale. Could you imagine coming home and this is what you're dealing with? Terry Boyette was in Florida caring for her sick mother when a friend called to tell her someone had squatted her Dallas area home. She had previously hired workers to renovate her house, but after she left, a painter had broken in and wrecked the place, leaving crack pipes in her oven and needles in a drawer, Boyette told the Post. Imagine you go to help your sick mom and somebody calls and says, hey, there's somebody in your house. Ugh. And you go back. Then what we didn't see and what we'll talk about is, I need to go like this. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Kristen, I'm going to go let you screenshot that. It's a cut and paste when I was talking about that clearly. It took 6 months for Boyette to get her home back. And now she says that her belongings have been either damaged beyond repair or sold. Her belongings did not look like they were in great condition, did they? Nah, they look ruined, just thrashed. You know, and part of the other reason I wanted to do this podcast is people on drugs, like all the people in the homeless communities that folks say, just give them some housing. This is what happens to housing when people whacked out on drugs take possession for even a short period of time. Because I don't think these people, maybe a couple of months, something like that. And, I didn't see a lot of holes in drywall. This home was actually in decent condition, considering, I know there's, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage done, but relative to, even some public facilities I have seen where the homeless, rent out rooms, whatever, they just destroy them. So this whole notion that if you give somebody housing, they're just going to, turn over a new leaf and just get sober and, work back their way to society, it's just an absolute complete misnomer. I don't know anything about the background of the people who did this to her, but they're whacked out on drugs, period. And this is the kind of stuff that they do. With her bed now situated in the backyard, a bike and a scooter in her shower, and trash and dirty dishes all over the home. All my stuff has been sold through yard sale and online, Boyette said, adding, apparently he was letting people rent from him. Yeah. I mean, why not? You take somebody else's house, you're not paying any rent. It's, it's squatter arbitrage, right? It just is. They're just coming in, doing shenanigans, and they don't care. It's not their house. They're just going to get booted out. And most of these folks know that the legal system isn't really going to catch up to them. Even in Texas. That's why you're seeing states like Texas, and I think Georgia, and I think Florida, they have been implementing new laws so that you can quickly get these squatters out. And so much of this, I believe, has to do with the drug culture. It just does. You know, these people want to live for free, and they do their drugs, and they rent out rooms and sell a bunch of drugs, and the world's their oyster. Why wouldn't it be? Once her friend alerted her to the situation, Boyette called the police to report the break-ins, but claims she was told because the squatter had been there for more than 10 days, she would have to evict him. So even in Texas, you've got this small window where you can get folks out and, get your big contractor and move them out. Boyette had tried to evict the squatter herself with the help of an attorney she hired. The process, however, took months. So these are the repercussions of going to help out your elderly parent. Somebody takes over your home. So that's something I wanted to mention today, that's a reality for a lot of us. You got to go take care of elderly parents. Then, make sure you got your home squared away. Maybe make sure you've got somebody taking care of it. I basically live by myself, and, I've always got somebody looking at my house, whether it's a neighbor or somebody else or somebody staying there or something like that, because there's no way, you just want to come back to this, because it's so ugly with the way that the law sides with these squatters. We had to send the 30-day notice, so he gets the 30-day notice that he's going to be removed, and he got another 30-day notice that had to expire. After I sent those, I got a court date in December, and then I went before the judge. The squatter didn't show up, of course, so she granted the eviction. Horrible process. You should just go in day one, tear off the front door, and send the people packing. This whole squatter has right thing is such a bunch of nonsense. When did we become such ninnies? Whether, we got to obey the law. And I don't want to see anybody go to jail, but it almost seems like we're going to have to go through a bunch of vigilante anti-squatterism. You're going to have some states change the rules, because this has gone way too far one direction. She extended the appeal to January because she didn't want anyone to be homeless. This is a judge. She extended the appeal to January because she didn't want anybody to be homeless over the holidays. And I'm like, I'm homeless over the holidays because they're in her house. Squatters got rights, even in Texas. The squatter was served with his final eviction notice on February 6th and was formally evicted on March 20th. I mean, I wish we had the date of when it probably happened, in early fall? Something like that? Maybe October? Who knows? He has tried to come back, Boyette said. The painter, it sounds like. A spokesperson for the Mesquite Police Department told the Post squatting a home is not as easy as Boyette says she was led to believe. Once they get in, that's the problem. Once they get in Texas, a squatter can claim adverse possession, but this is a very involved process. And it is very involved throughout the United States. Adverse possession, you got to jump through all kinds of hoops. Oftentimes you have to have been making payments. You got to pay taxes, all kinds of stuff you got to do. And it's rare for anybody to legally actually take land from another person based on the adverse possession process. It requires them having a recorded deed for the property and paying property tax on the property for at least 5 years, or occupying and improving the land for at least 10 years. 10 years. Open, and there's some other term I remember in Real Estate 101. Open, and you're doing it in such a way where it's adversarial, something like that. So, and then the person goes on to say, I've never seen this myself, the spokesperson said. They added, the eviction process is recommended for squatters to ensure that any adverse claims filed are invalid. Boot them out. Throw them to the curb. I don't care. This has become absurd. Squatting has become a huge issue across the country, with unwanted guests taking people's homes in New York, Atlanta, California, and across the country. We're seeing it left and right, and we're seeing it with the legals as well. And then the illegals have all kinds of, charges against them. And what are we doing? Yeah, don't evict them. We don't want anybody to be out without a home. Wasn't their home in the first place. Throw them to the curb. Don't care. Kick them to the curb. That's not inclusive, Sean. No, it's not. On purpose. On Wednesday, the Post revealed a migrant who has been encouraging others to squat in Americans' homes is on the run from authorities. That was our crazy Venezuelan dude, right? See the video of him? He's got snot hanging down his nose. He's crying, they're coming after me. The authorities are coming after me. He's holding his baby. What an irresponsible father and husband, because he's married. And he's going on TikTok saying, this is what we got to do, guys. This is what Venezuelans got to do. We got to take people's homes, squat in them, and, we'll make them our own and we got to take them. Literally, he had 500,000 followers. That kind of ridiculousness. He is under the authority of ICE, I believe, at this point in time. He's been arrested, and ICE wants to have a little chit-chat with him. Just a little scooch of a chit-chat. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation Wednesday to enhance penalties for squatting and allow cops to swiftly remove people from private properties. He really opened that up. He did a nice job with that. With all of you in Florida, you have no idea what a great governor you have. I mean, seriously, he's a great governor. So is Greg Abbott down in Texas. So is Greg Abbott. But I feel like there's more squatting going on. There's more stories about squatting because, Florida, right? We are putting an end to the squatter scam in Florida. I remember that one. Putting an end to the squatter scam in Florida, DeSantis proclaimed in a statement. While other states are siding with the squatters, we are protecting property owners and punishing criminals looking to game the system. Yeah, and Greg Abbott of Texas, he came right out and said, kind of along the same lines. We are ending this ridiculousness where, and he went as far as saying that property owners have the right to use force in getting a squatter out. This is governor of Texas. And then a bunch of other entities were like, you know what? You don't really want to follow the governor's words 100%. They're trying to make some excuses for, don't use force on squatters. I say, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. That's why I was kind of surprised. And maybe it happened on this one because the squatters had been in for so long. But how do they prove they've been in there? They don't have a lease. There's no sign of utility statements. How do they know how long these people have been in there? Did somebody call, make a complaint? There's squatters in my, I don't know the mechanics of that, but it sounds like by the time she got back, it was, too far gone and it was down this process and she had to follow the legal part of that. I've done other stories where hey, thank you for the $10. Keep up the great work. Watching from Australia. Appreciate that. Tristan, you're going to have to cut this out. This is from Oz. Thank you, Oz. Much appreciated. I don't normally do that midstream, but we're going to do that one. Australia, half my family's there. All those folks down under. Getting back to the podcast, this is ridiculousness. It's absolute just, what are we doing? And we've talked about squatters taking over and, renting out rooms and destroying homes. But I think so much of this has to do with the drug culture. It has to do with homelessness. So we've gone from, hey, let's just pitch a tent wherever we want, homelessness, we're going to do that, to, you know what, screw the tent. Let's just go find a vacant home and we'll bust in. Because it's not that hard to break into a home. It's just not. Kick in a window, tape it up, put a blanket over it. What do they care? It's better than a tent, right? And, to get utilities turned on, it's actually not that hard. And then once they've got them on, the landlord can't turn it off because then that would be abuse of the landlord, squatter, tenant law, whatever that might be, something along those lines. It's just the whole thing has gone so the wrong side. And that's why I want to read a podcast like this, because then that kind of gets people thinking, you know what? It's not like she left her home for a long time. She basically just went to her parent, her aging parent, and she had a painter. And I know you guys have contractors, and you know who I'm talking to. You have contractors that have been on drugs. This could be a thing. Yeah. So bottom line is, don't have people on drugs in your home. That's a word to the wise. Even people who say, I'm going to kick, I'm going to kick, I'm going to kick. I'm going to go to that AA meeting, I'm going to go to that NA meeting, whatever it is. Don't have those folks in your home. It's a liability. Because stuff like this can happen because they have no reason to not do it. What's the worst that can happen? They're already homeless or quasi-homeless, right? Wife kicks them out. I don't have anywhere to stay. Come stay at my house. And it sounds like they were literally just, painting the woman's house, doing a remodel on the woman's house, and they knew her schedule. They knew she didn't have anybody around to support her. So they just went in and they took what they wanted, just absolutely, did whatever they wanted and destroyed her stuff. And I'd say that house, it's a mess, but you clean all that stuff out. That is not the worst I've ever seen. By far. That's not that bad. When you start to see garbage piled up 3-4 feet in the room, maybe to the ceiling, you got rats running around, things are literally just destroyed, massive chunks out of the drywall, tile ripped out of the bathroom, entire kitchen cabinets ripped out. Those are the houses those are complete remodels or possibly a tear down. Her home, she's going to be able to put that back together, but it's going to take some work. And it's probably going to take a bunch more money to get it back into the condition that she had it in right before she left to go take care of her elderly mother. So don't let that happen to you. Do whatever it takes to secure what's yours. And however you want to interpret that, that is just fine. All right. I know this is a quick segment, but I'm going to end this one here. And I'm going to do the outro. So let me get my thoughts together for a brief moment. Somebody said Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter. That was a great song, wasn't it? Helter Skelter. And then who was it? Charles Manson said that the song Helter Skelter by the Beatles inspired him to commit those murders. Something like that. Let's not be thinking of Helter Skelter and Charles Manson right now. I'm going to get my outro done. All right. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. If you haven't subscribed already, love to have you a subscriber. Love to have you. Tristan cut. That was terrible. Let's go with this one. Thanks so much for viewing this podcast. Love to have you as a subscriber if you haven't already. I butchered the word subscriber. Let's do that again. Time number 3. Let's go. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. Love to have you as a subscriber if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this content. Hit the notification bell. We're dropping 2 videos a day, Monday through Friday, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Live streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, Pacific Coast time, whatever that is, right? 11 o'clock. Thanks again for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now. All right. See what you guys are chatting about. It's been real. Yep. Thanks all you guys for being here. Thanks for the $10, Oz. It's interesting. We've got a bunch of people in Australia that are watching as well. Not just my family. I don't even think my family down there knows I'm a podcaster. They're just like, Sean, we see some stuff on Facebook, but no idea what he's doing. So wood chippers and shovels. The painter wanted that home free of charge. The homeowner wasn't even allowed to turn off the electricity or the water. Yeah, that's the crazy thing on the utilities on those deals. You can't turn them off. Again, it's another example of Pacific Heights. You can't turn off the power. You can't turn off the waters because waters, is there more than one? Because that might be, doing something that, violation of the lease agreement. You can't, turn off people's right to live. Well, when they're a squatter, I think you just go in there and you throw them out. You just throw them out. Yeah, American law has really lost the plot. That is so true. It just has. It has. It's like, who are we trying to protect here? It's gone down this road of protecting everybody but the actual homeowner. Everybody but the actual person who's, got the lease. Crazy stuff. Here in the state of Washington, we see it all the time. And a lot of that has to do with just super liberal leadership. The poor tenants. Now they're squatters. Well, yeah, it's a flux situation. It's like whether you're non-binary, binary, or whatever. I'm going to scroll down to the end and see what else you guys got. Yep. All right. I'm going to end up here. Thanks all so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. We will go next Tuesday. I got some good podcasts coming out, though. So, check in. If you haven't subscribed, I would love that. Thanks again. We'll catch up soon. Bye for now.